UFC 299 is absolutely stacked, and it might end up being the best card of 2024. We have quite a bit of year left for that to sort itself out, but as of right now, this is a spectacular card. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to break down the entire UFC 299 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and Draftkings fantasy plays. Before I do, let's celebrate yet another massive ticket from a premium member, this time for $17,000. Last week, it was $24,000. Our premium members continue to be wildly successful in DraftKings Fantasy. If you want to join them, you want to become a premium member and unlock all the tools, the insight, and information, you can. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. It's only $10 a month. And in the last 6 months, our premium members have sent over almost $500,000 in winning DraftKings tickets. That's almost $500,000 in 6 months from our premium members. It's absolutely astonishing how successful they are. And our premium members have full access to everything we do, including our DraftKings ownership projections. For DraftKings Fantasy, this number could arguably be the most important number that you work with while building lineups for these large tournaments. And we have the best numbers in the game. If you look at this spreadsheet on the right, that is the We Want Picks DraftKings ownership projection numbers. You can see our projection and then the actual. We had a 3% margin of error. That is better than every other platform on this planet. And I'm comparing us to Awesemo, to Roto Grinders, not Jim Bob's Twitter breakdown. I'm comparing us to massive companies with hundreds of millions of dollars behind them. I have a specialist. I pay him to grind these numbers, and he is doing it, and they are the best numbers in the game, and they are preloaded into the DraftKings Optimizer. This Optimizer is available to you for just $10 a month. You get every single thing that we do, and the Optimizer is just one piece of that puzzle. So for $2.50 a week, you have access to our DraftKings Optimizer that will build lineups for you, and it will be preloaded with the best numbers in this space. That is objectively the greatest value you could ever imagine when it comes to DraftKings Fantasy for MMA. The sales pitch could end right there, but it doesn't because there's bets, there's picks, there's all sorts of other information as well. Unlock everything I have mentioned and everything I don't have time to mention right now at WeWantPicks.com. Just click Become a Member at the top. It's astonishing the value that you're going to get. Let's go ahead and break down this card. Before I do, I just want to say another wildly sincere thank you. Our numbers this week for UFC 299 have been insane. Every single piece of content we put on the board has gone absolutely nuts. My quick picks video did like 16,000 views in 24 hours or something absurd like that. Our main card video is flying through the sky as well. I thank every single one of you from the bottom of my heart. The fact that you guys tune into everything that we do, watch for as long as you watch, comment the way you comment, give it thumbs up, share. The fact that you guys do all of that is not lost on me, and I appreciate every single one of you. I'm going to do my best to give you not only the best value in the world when it comes to premium membership, but also just high quality content. No cheesy topology backgrounds, no corners cut. You're going to get custom graphics, real breakdowns, edited videos, and all the things. Let's go ahead and break down UFC 299. Opening up the card, we have a rematch. We have Maryna Moroz taking on Joanne Wood. Maryna Moroz already won this fight 9 years ago. 9 years ago. And the reason I'm saying it with the inflection in my voice, who cares? It was 9 years ago. There are people out there just standing on business. Maryna Moroz is going to do it again. She's going to submit her in the first round again. Maybe. I severely doubt that. This was so long ago. You know what she did in her immediate next fight? She lost to Valerie Letourneau. Immediately lost to her. Beat two people nobody's ever heard of. And then finally got to step up in competition and got her ass kicked there too. Esparza beat her. Hill beat her. She beat Sabina Mazo. Great. Probably not in the UFC anymore. She did beat Mayra Bueno Silva. That is the best win of her career. And that is actually a good win. And then she beat Agapova, and now she's on a bit of a skid. And obviously you can see this here. I don't need to read her record for you. But the reason I am emphasizing who she's beating and who she's losing to is because Joanne Wood has a little bit of a different record. Maryna Moroz is a very good fighter. She's a good, busy striker. She'll mix up her striking technique. She can work in a takedown or two. You can see that here in this column. Overall, durable, well-rounded, busy striker. That's how I will categorize Maryna Moroz. She's taken on Joanne Wood. To me, the difference between these two women is the level of competition. Joanne Wood, 2 fights ago, fought Alexa Grasso, who's currently the champion. She fought Lauren Murphy, who fought for a belt. She fought Santos, who is ranked. Joanne Wood has only fought, if we go through this list, top 15 fighters in the world. And yes, she has lost to some of them. She's not a champion. She'll never be a champion because she's retiring after this fight. And while a retirement fight is a red flag in and of itself, I do think Joanne Wood can win this fight. I think Joanne Wood can come forward, stay busy with the striking, probably work Moroz against the cage, get some clinch action in there, maybe squeak in a takedown or two, and get this win. Even if it's a very close win, like she got over Luana Carolina, look at the number she puts on the board. She's only $7,200 for your lineup. She scored 105 points in a close win over Luana Carolina. She beat Jessica Eye for 108 points. Her decision wins are very high scoring. And it's not just because she might work in a takedown or two. Look at this Jessica Eye fight. She only had 1 takedown, almost no control time at all, but she landed 214 strikes, 148 of them were significant, and she put up some very real numbers on the board. I like Joanne Wood to win this fight. I think $7,200 is a wild discount. Even if you don't think she wins, there's no way she's going to get submitted in the first round like she did 9 years ago. I think Joanne Wood is a much different fighter since then. I think she wants to come out here, get one final win. She'll stay out of danger, keep striking. Maryna Moroz is focusing on her OnlyFans right now. Go check that out. Joanne Wood is going to be the pick, $7,200. I will probably have her in my lineup to free up some money for some of the rest of these very high-priced fighters. That takes us to Asu Almabaev and CJ Vergara. Almabaev looked good on the scale, made weight. CJ Vergara did not make weight. I don't think it matters. I don't think it affects the outcome. Because CJ Vergara has good enough cardio and energy, I don't think missing weight is going to matter. It's not like he looked like death and is going to continue to cut and it's a new weight class. He did miss, which is not great, but I think his fate was sealed already because Asu Almabaev is a beast. This guy's a flashy striker, a dominant grappler. He can control the striking range, work in a spinning attack, and then boom, say, you know what? I'm a wrestler now. Let me shoot some wild takedowns, take you down, beat your ass, and get the submission. Submission? Was that like a French submission? Anyway, he just beat O'Day Osborne. The striking was wild. It was wild. He was doing like just sloppy, wild nonsense. But as soon as he won the grapple, he did, and he dominated this fight. And I think that's what the CJ Vergara fight is going to look like as well. I think he's going to come forward, maybe engage the striking a little bit, take him down, and submit him. And if you look at the Tatsuro Taira fight, sure, he had a reversal, but what you don't see, because we're looking at his stats, not Tatsuro's, is he was taken down 3 times. And CJ Vergara is typically a very durable guy. If you go watch this Lacerda fight, CJ Vergara was dead to rights, like down and out, done. Somehow survived the first round, literally ran around the cage, survived the first round, came out in the second and got that win. And this win over Vinicius Salvador actually looked pretty good too. He landed the more meaningful strikes. He defended a couple of takedowns, and he looked pretty good there. I don't think he's going to look good here. I like Asu Almabaev. I'll probably have Asu in my lineup. And if we got Joanne Wood in there, all of a sudden we can afford Asu at this pretty juiced price point at $9,500. Then we have an untested, but a very, very dangerous, at least seemingly so, Robelis Despaigne. He's taking on Josh Parisian. No data here. This is only his 5th ever MMA fight, and he's in the UFC, and that's because this guy is a savage. 6'7" Olympian. He's from Cuba, an Olympic Taekwondo medalist. He got bronze in the Olympics. People are going to say, well, it was bronze by default. Shut up. This guy is an absolute giant savage, a phenomenal striker with insane athleticism for somebody built the way that he's built. And I tweeted our breakdown video. Every video we break down the fighters, we chop it up, we tweet it, we tag the fighters. Hey, here's what we said about you. Right? We're not cowards hiding behind a cloak of anonymity. Anonymity? Anonymity. We're not hiding in the shadows. We put it out there. And Robelis responded, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm old, but I can still do something in this sport. I'm not the only Cuban that showed up late that's going to make something happen. And that's because he is old. He's 35. And he's younger than me. But it's old to be starting a UFC career. Luckily for him, he's not starting a combat career, just a UFC career. Robelis is $9,300. The cumulative total of his last 3 fights, 3 of 4, was 19 seconds. He fought 3 people. And from when they said, go, to when they waved it off, 19 seconds. Combined total of 3 fights. That's how insanely dangerous this guy is. He's taking on Josh Parisian. Josh Parisian's not exactly a panty dropper. People aren't lined up to catch a Josh Parisian fight. But Josh Parisian is pretty good. He's a come-forward striker. He's very busy, tons of output, and very durable. He's a pretty durable guy. Dontel Mays beat him. That was on the ground. He's got decent submission defense, good submission offense, good striking, pretty durable, decent chin, all those things. I think Josh Parisian loses this fight, and if we know anything, he'll probably be knocked out. But if somehow Josh Parisian survives early, nobody knows what the hell Robelis is going to look like a little bit later in the fight. Nobody knows what the hell he's going to look like pushed up against the cage, maybe taken out. Nobody knows. So while I do think Robelis should be in a couple of lineups, and if he scores a knockout in under a minute, you get, I believe it's 30 extra points for DraftKings. So all of a sudden, a very quick Robelis knockout is like a 120-point, 130-point win. But if Josh survives, if Josh makes something happen, all of a sudden, who knows? I'm going Robelis here, though. I do think while Josh is tough and he's busy and he's got all the assets to survive, this matchup is this matchup for a reason. That takes us to Michel Pereira taking on Michał Oleksiejczuk. Michel Pereira is up at 185 pounds. He was a massive 170-pounder. He missed weight a handful of times, and the UFC said, cut the shit, go up in weight. So he did. And he fought Andre Petroski in his first 185-pound fight. And he knocked that dude out pretty quick. Like, pretty quick. So, okay, all right. Michel Pereira looks good. Didn't look soft at all. Looked just as jacked, but bigger. Just as fast, but bigger. Just as much power, if not more. So Michel Pereira, 185 pounds, looks absolutely spectacular. He already was a wildly athletic capoeira fighter. That's that Brazilian dance fighting. He already could fight the distance. And that's important here because, look, decision. So we know he's crazy. He's flashy. We know he can knock people out. And we know he's got plenty of cardio and can go the distance. We don't know that about Michał Oleksiejczuk. And I keep saying Oleksiejczuk. That's Joanna's last name. This is Oleksiejczuk. And I go and I watch the tape. I watch the breakdowns. I listen to John Anik say it because that's the only person on this planet that can say all of these names correctly. That guy deserves the Medal of Freedom from the president for how he pronounces some of these insane names. Look at this name. Look at it. J-C-Z-U-K. Zjuk. Anyway, I'm sorry, McCall. It's probably Michael. Anyway, this guy's a lightning fast striker. Lightning fast. It's pretty crazy how fast his hands are. And he is very dangerous. And he's tough. This Chidi and Njokuani fight right here, he was done. Pretty much down and out. He got cracked early. Was Wobble Street, was pretty much down and out, and somehow survived, weathered the storm, came back and got his own finish for 117 points. McCall is dangerous. He's very fast, and he's proven to be somewhat durable. I just think Michel Pereira is even more dangerous and more durable with better cardio. We only have the one decision from McCall here. Sorry, 2 decisions from McCall here. 3 decisions from McCall here. But he hasn't won. He's only won 1. Sorry, is the point that I was trying to make. And he hasn't won many late rounds. He looks great early. And then he fades big time. The only reason he beat Bukauskas is because Bukauskas also faded big time, if not worse. And FYI, Bukauskas is not in the UFC anymore. So I do think Michel Pereira's got to weather an early storm, deal with the early speed from McCall, and make him work. Shoot takedowns. Push him against the cage. Make him work. Tire his ass out and be done with it. And just another little fact here. McCall's training himself. He left his gym. He left his team and said, I have a kid now. I can't afford to pay all these people. I'll train myself. I'm good. Very few people are self-motivated enough to train themselves. Glover Teixeira famously is. Outside of that, very few people can train themselves to be successful at this level. I'm all in on Michel Pereira. I think he gets it done. DraftKings-wise, $8,700. That's where it gets a little tricky. I'm not sure. Because if it does go to a decision, he doesn't score insanely well, but I do think Michel Pereira wins, and you can play with your budget to see if he's worth that money. That takes us to Philipe Lins versus Jan Cutelaba. This fight was booked, I believe, back in December at UFC Vegas 80, and it was canceled on fight night after the card started because Philipe Lins was like, I don't feel good. I can't fight. Soft-ass Philipe Lins. Couldn't feel good. Fight was canceled. I say soft, but he's actually pretty tough, pretty durable, pretty heavy-handed. But we'll talk about him in a second. Let's talk about Jan Cutelaba. Feast or famine. This kill or be killed. He's not a particularly durable guy, but he is a very dangerous guy. He can get you out of there early, or he can get stopped early, and he can get put out early. He's got phenomenal wrestling and heavy power in his hands. And when I say phenomenal wrestling, actually the technique isn't anything great, but he's so strong, so fast, so athletic. He'll come forward, boom, great double. Boom, beautiful slam. He'll take you down, he'll beat you up from there. As I mentioned, offensively, insanely durable. Defensively, not as durable. Questionable chin, and he can get finished. He's coming off of the win over Tanner Boser, where he beat that dude down early. And I was somewhat surprised because Tanner Boser is a pretty athletic guy. He was coming down from heavyweight. I thought Tanner would have some success, and he didn't. But it was a very typical Cutelaba fight. Kill or be killed. He's taking on Philipe Lins. Philipe Lins is pretty durable. He's another guy that was a heavyweight and has worked his way down to light heavyweight. Seems to have carried some of that power with him. He's got some legit power in his hands, decent chin. He is a BJJ black belt. And all of those things would scream, well, he should win this fight, right? He's pretty durable. He hits hard. He's fighting a chinny guy. He's a BJJ black belt, even if he gets to the ground. The problem with Philipe, though, is he just looked terrible. He beat Max Christian. He beat him. But his fight IQ was terrible. He went all in on the wrestling, and most of his takedown attempts were extremely low fight IQ. They made no sense. I don't know why he was going for him. Philipe Lins can be a guy that beats a good amount of people, but he can also be a guy that's losing fights he shouldn't lose because he's making mistakes. I think Jan Cutelaba comes forward, ragdolls him, and then gets him out of there somewhat early because that's what Jan Cutelaba does. The problem is either one of these fighters can win. Either one of them can win by finish. Like, this is honestly kind of a sloppy fight, and they're priced a little tricky. $7,800 is not very affordable, meaning if he's an underdog that I think might get finished, I'd like a much steeper discount on him. And Jan Cutelaba is a little more expensive for a guy that gets finished. I'm probably fading both sides of this fight. If you're building multiple entries for a large tournament, you might want one side of this fight in your lineup because whoever wins should, in theory, score pretty well. That takes us to Kyler Phillips versus Pedro Munhoz. This is an interesting fight because Pedro Phillips, they got married. Pedro Munhoz is a guy that's historically on pay-per-view main cards or the featured prelim. He's a guy that they historically believed in. And now they're like, all right, bud, back down and fight some up-and-comer. And that's who Kyler Phillips is. Kyler Phillips, I would say, is an up-and-comer at this point. He is coming off the absolute best win of his career over Hani Barcelos, where he weaponized his cardio. He did drop Hani early. And then after that, just stayed busy, kept coming forward. And my opinion of his cardio and other people's opinion of his cardio is different. I think Kyler Phillips has some pretty good cardio. Of course, he slows down. But that's because the pace he sets early is just not a reasonable, manageable pace. He is just all gas. And then, of course, he slows down. But I personally think his third round slowdown is still better and faster than most people's first or second round of cardio. But Kyler Phillips will do all the things. A pretty diverse striker. He'll try to work in some takedowns. Just constant forward pressure. He can be sloppy, though, and he can make mistakes. We saw that in the Julian Paiva fight. He gets taken down at like the most inopportune moments. He gets taken down at the end of a round to lose that round. But Kyler Phillips is a busy guy that can make stuff happen. I don't think he's particularly dangerous, and he is fighting a guy in Pedro Munhoz who is very durable. Pedro Munhoz, let's go through who he's fought. Chito Vera, who's fighting for a title. Gutierrez, who was very good at the time. Very good up-and-comer at the time, and he knocked him out. Out-decisioned him after dropping him early. Sean O'Malley, the current champion. Dominic Cruz, former champion, one of the best to ever do it. Jose Aldo, former champion, one of the best to ever do it. Rivera, who was very good, and he beat him. Frankie Edgar, former champion, one of the best to ever do it. Aljamain Sterling, former champion, one of the best to ever do it. He beat Cody Garbrandt, beat Kerry. Point being, he's beating everybody and has beat everybody he's supposed to and losing to champions and title challengers. And the reason I'm going through all of this is because Pedro Munhoz is old. 38, 37, something like that. He is old, especially for these lighter weight classes. In these lighter weight classes, he's 160. But he is still durable. He's still a very good, clean boxer. He has a great guillotine. And if Kyler Phillips slows down, Pedro Munhoz could really make something happen. I think Kyler Phillips probably wins this fight. I think the cardio will be the difference. And that's not, I worded that misleadingly. For me to say the cardio will be the difference implies that Pedro doesn't have good cardio. Pedro does have good cardio and won't slow down. I just think Kyler's early pressure and pace might be the difference, right? I think he'll win the first round, the second round, probably lose the third, and then we got a 29-28. This will be a close fight. And Pedro could absolutely win this fight. I think Pedro Munhoz should be in your lineup at $7,100. Let's look at this last loss. The dude put up 45 points in a loss to Chito Vera. A loss, 45 points. He won that first round against Sean O'Malley. Won that round, objectively. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. Go look at the scorecards. 41 points in a loss to Dominic Cruz. 30 points in a loss to Jose Aldo. This guy puts up numbers in his losses. So even if he loses, let's say every favorite on this card wins, you're going to have a loser in your lineup. And Pedro Munhoz might be the best loser. And I'm not saying loser like live in your mother's basement. I'm saying loser like didn't win the fight. Pedro Munhoz, $7,100, probably be in my lineup. Again, we got to free up some money for some of these heavy favorites. That takes us to a heavy favorite. Mateusz Gamrot taking on Rafael dos Anjos. Gamrot should be in your lineup. Spoiler alert, $9,400 will be in my lineup. Now, he doesn't score wildly well in every single fight. Like Jailton Turner, only 86 points. The Fiziev fight, 84 points. You're going to see second round KO, TKO. Fiziev blew out his knee or his ankle immediately in the second round. And Gamrot actually lost that first round. So that's a very misleading number. So while he barely covered his salary in the Turner fight, every other fight before that, for the most part, he has covered his salary and does really well. Scott Holtzman, 2 takedowns. Took down Jeremy Stevens. Took down Fajeda 4 times. Took down Sarukian 6 times. That was 5 rounds. That's a bit skewed there. Took down Dariush 4 times. I think he won that fight, but whatever. Took down Jailton Turner 4 times. The reason I'm saying I think he's worth the $9,400 is because I think Gamrot's going to come in here non-stop wrestle Rafael dos Anjos. And that's what Gamrot is. He's a non-stop pressure wrestler. Rafael dos Anjos is a well-rounded guy, but defending non-stop takedowns is a very different game than pushing your own takedowns. So Gamrot, I think he's going to be very wrestle-heavy. He's fighting former champion Rafael dos Anjos. This guy is the former lightweight champion of the world. He missed out on a massive payday when his fight against Conor McGregor was canceled, but that did set up Conor versus Nate Diaz, which really set Conor's popularity to a whole new level. But Rafael dos Anjos, very good striker, very good grappler, former champion, very tough, bounces between lightweight and welterweight. This is down at lightweight, which I don't necessarily know is going to be great for him in this matchup. I think dos Anjos loses. I think he's going to lose pretty bad. I don't think he's going to get finished, but look at the way he just lost to Luque. Luque took him down 8 times. Vicente Luque took down Rafael dos Anjos 8 times. I think Gamrot's going to do more of the same. That was 5 rounds, obviously, but I think Gamrot's just going to come forward, take him down, come forward, take him down, come forward, take him down. Defending takedowns and then bullying your way into takedowns are very different things. I think Gamrot wins this fight, and I think he puts up some very real numbers because of the non-stop takedowns, and takedowns are 5 points each in DraftKings. Then we have a very interesting lady fight. We got the girls going at it. We got Maycee Barber taking on Katlyn Chookagian, now Katlyn Simonara. She just got married. Congratulations. Maycee Barber is a very well-rounded, very busy fighter. She's a solid striker, good boxing. Her wrestling is decent as well. You can see she had very well-timed takedowns in the Andrea Lee fight. She took down Montana De La Rosa, who's a very good wrestler. Took down Maryna Maverick in that fight. Maycee Barber's well-rounded. Maycee Barber can hang tough, can be tough, and can push a pace. She just finished Amanda Ribas in a fight where she got taken down, got ragdolled a little bit, and then ended up staying tough, finding that finish and getting it done. I don't know if Maycee Barber wins this fight, though. She's younger. She's probably more well-rounded, but I don't know if she wins this fight. And if we look a little closer, I don't think she beat Andrea Lee. That wasn't a great decision. I don't think she beat Maryna Maverick either. That wasn't a great decision. And it's a little bit of the same story if we go to the Sermonara side or the Katlyn Chookagian side. A lot of people don't think she beat Viviane Araújo. So both of these women getting what we'll call gift decisions, which means these are razor close fights. And Katlyn Chookagian does an amazing job of the basics. She's a 1s and 2 fighter. Jab, straight right. Jab, straight right. Jab, straight right. Tennis noise. Tennis noise. Dancing around, staying long as shit. Staying on the outside. 1-2, 1-2. Tennis noise, tennis noise. That's how she fights. One takedown. She took down Jennifer Maia. But not particularly, I say particularly a lot, and I enunciate every letter for some reason. Just noticed that now. But she doesn't wrestle nonstop. Not a phenomenal grappler, but she is 35, very wise in her fighting career. And yes, she just lost to Manon Fiorot, but Manon Fiorot is a very, very good fighter. I think Katlyn Chookagian can win this fight. I think Katlyn Chookagian can sneak something out. Problem is she doesn't score that well. 57 in a win. 72 in a win. Like, if I'm going to throw 58 in a win, she doesn't even cover her salary when she's the favorite. She's not going to cover her salary when she's the dog. $7,400 salary. And if she beats her the same way she beat Ribas and puts up 57 points, I'm pissed. I'm not going to have either one of these women in my lineup. I think this is a decision. I don't think either one of them score well, and Maycee's probably not going to cover her $8,800 salary. That takes us to the featured prelim of the evening. One of the more controversial fights on this card. And when I say controversial, I just mean people's opinions on Twitter and the comment section. The Twitter consensus here seems to be that Curtis Blaydes as an underdog, which on some books he is, some books he's not. But Curtis Blaydes as an underdog, or I guess even money, is crazy. He's going to blow through Jailton Almeida. This is Curtis Blaydes, the phenomenal wrestler. This is Curtis Blaydes, who knocked out Dawkins, who has big power. He knocked out Aspinall. He didn't knock out Aspinall. Aspinall blew his knee out. And he knocked out Chris Dawkins, who lost his job. And yeah, he beat Rozenstruik in a decision because he had 3 takedowns, and Rozenstruik can't defend a takedown. I personally think Curtis Blaydes is a little overrated. He's a great wrestler, and if he uses his wrestling offensively, he should win this fight. But he hasn't shot a takedown in 3 years. Hasn't attempted a takedown in 3 years. Hasn't even tried. What kind of fight IQ is that? What kind of fight IQ is that? You're in there with Sergey Pavlovich, one of the most dangerous strikers in the division. You don't shoot a takedown and you go to sleep. What kind of fight IQ is that? And I'll tell you, same story we had before with Rafael dos Anjos. Offensive takedowns and defending takedowns are a very different story. Do you know, if we scroll our way down, that this dude took him down? Curtis Blaydes has been taken down by this dude twice. And then if we work our way up, Volkov as well. Volkov, obviously a very good fighter, so that takedown isn't as dramatic. Curtis Blaydes has a 33% takedown defense. So to compliment Curtis Blaydes, I will say he's a very good wrestler when he wrestles. He lowers his level and shoots takedowns like a welterweight. He's also a decent striker with some very real power in his hands. But he hasn't wrestled in years. And if he can't defend a takedown from whoever the hell this is, he's not going to be defending Jailton Almeida's takedowns. Jailton Almeida is not human. He comes forward. People are like, oh, he just throws the same front kick takedown. Well, people started bitching about that at the Abu Khamimov. Fucking That's not it. People started complaining about that at this fight. Didn't matter with Rozenstruik. Didn't matter with Derek Lewis. Just taking people down whenever he wants to, almost immediately, never been in any danger. You know the most he's ever been hit in a UFC fight is 20 strikes. That's the most he's ever been hit in a UFC fight. This dude is not human. He comes forward, immediately starts wrestling, gets you to the ground almost instantly. He just went 5 rounds with Derek Lewis. And people see that as a negative. People see that as you didn't even finish. You had Derek Lewis. You took him down 6 times. You had 21 minutes of control. You were in mount basically 20 of the 21 minutes and you didn't finish him. You suck. I disagree. I saw a guy that was in no danger at all on his feet against the literal knockout king. I saw a guy that had 25 minutes of heavy grappling cardio. I saw a guy that had good control. I saw a guy that finished a full 25-minute main event. I appreciate that. I do recognize that if Curtis Blaydes wants to offensively wrestle, the same speech I just gave you about defending Jailton's takedown, Jailton's going to have to defend some takedowns. We don't know what the hell that looks like. We do not know what that looks like. He hasn't had to do it yet. I think Jailton Almeida wins this fight. I'll probably have my lineup at $8,000. And maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. These are fist fights. Nobody's 100%. But I think Jailton Almeida can come forward, shoot the takedown, immediately set that tone, and Curtis Blaydes on his back is going to be a fish out of water. So I like Jailton Almeida to win this, $8,000. I'll probably have him in my lineup. Let's put it this way. He averages 119 points. Averages 119 points. This fight is dead even on the score, on the odds and sports books. I'll have him in my lineup because I'm heavy on that side. If you're on the Curtis Blaydes side, then go for it. We might have a fraud check situation. I don't think so. Then we have the UFC 299 main card opener. Former champion Petr Yan taking on young up-and-comer Song Yadong. Petr Yan, as I mentioned, former champion. A bit of a skid. 1-4 in his last 5. The DQ against Aljamain Sterling, he beat his ass. He beat that dude's ass. Aljo took the easy way out. And in the rematch, I think he beat Aljo there as well. I also think he beat Sean O'Malley. And then he got absolutely dominated in the Merab fight. And the reason I'm highlighting this is, okay, I think he beat the current champion. If he didn't, he didn't, right? The judges didn't score it that way. And it was a close enough fight that you can't stand and scream robbery. But I thought Petr did enough, especially with those 6 takedowns and almost 7 minutes of control time in a 15-minute fight. And he dropped them. He didn't get recorded a knockdown, but he dropped them. The Sterling fight, the rematch, I thought he won that fight as well. So all of a sudden, he lost to the previous champion in a fight that I think he won. He lost to the current champion in a fight that I think he won. And the only fight he truly lost was the Merab Dvalishvili fight because, well, Merab is Merab. And that dude just wrestled the shit out of him. In that Merab fight, he defended 38 takedowns. He was taken down 11 times, but he defended 38 of them, which is crazy. Anyway, Petr Yan, dangerous, phenomenal striker, great takedown defense, especially if you zoom out and look at it holistically and not just that he was taken down 11 times in one fight. And he averages 2 takedowns of his own per fight. So Petr Yan, still very good and only 31 years old. He's taking on Song Yadong. Song Yadong is a very good striker. He's got good power, good speed, very technical. He's a very good wrestler as well. He'll work in plenty of takedowns, plenty of cardio. He's at Team Alpha Male, so you know they have great game plans. You know he's well-trained, and you know they've got like the little guy camp. All the Team Alpha Male fighters are little and great wrestlers, and now they're becoming great strikers as well. Song Yadong could be the future of this division. Very well-rounded, hits very hard, does all the things, and he does them all really, really well. He's coming off his first main event over Chris Gutierrez, where he scored 107 points and worked in 2 takedowns, controlled the striking and the grappling. The Ricky Simone fight, he finished Ricky in the 5th round, and that was a great win for him. A great win for him because Ricky was a dangerous grappler with incredible cardio, and it wasn't that big of a deal for him. He worked through that almost without issue. The Corey Sandhagen fight, that was a bad loss. It went late. He got pretty beat up, and then he ended up getting finished in the 4th round. But Corey Sandhagen's a tough fight for a lot of people. I think Corey Sandhagen's a tougher fight than Petr Yan. Personally, I think Song can win this fight. And I think we're going to learn a lot about Petr Yan. I'm going to fade this fight in DraftKings. I'm going to leave it alone. I think it's a decision, and it's too hard to pick a side when I'm building a lineup and I only have 6 slots to do it in. Petr Yan, as I went through his record, could be the champion right now. He could be the champion right now. If you remove that Moroz fight, I thought he beat Aljo again. I thought he beat O'Malley. He could be the champion right now. So I'm going to leave this fight off. I do think Song is just going to be a little faster, a little more aggressive with the takedowns. I think youth might play a factor here, even though Yan is only listed as 31 years old. So Song Yadong is going to be the pick. I'm not going to have either one of them in my DraftKings lineup. Then we have Gilbert Burns taking on Jack Della Maddalena. Another changing of the guard type fight. Gilbert Burns is the dog here. $7,600 is a very well-priced dog for a sort of tried and true guy in Gilbert Burns. I'm about to disparage him, though. So if you're a Gilbert Burns loyalist, just mute for like 30 seconds here. Okay, they muted. So Gilbert Burns, while people seem to love him, and he's a very likable guy, has gotten more popular on his losses than his wins. Because who has he beaten? He beat George Masvidal, who retired that night. We knew he was going to retire that night. He beat Neil Magny, who sucks. Okay. He lost to Chimaev. And this is really where his popularity took off. He lost to Chimaev. He lost a striking match to Chimaev, who has no cardio. And that's really when Gilbert's career took off. He beat Wonderboy, who I love, but can't defend a takedown. He lost to Usman. And people will say, well, he dropped Usman. He got him rocked. But he lost. And that's what we're looking at here. Gilbert Burns has gained more popularity off of his loss to Usman and loss to Chimaev than he did with any of these wins. He has 0 wins. 0 wins over anybody ranked in the top 10 today. 0. None. Zilch. 0 wins over a ranked opponent. And I know Jack Della Maddalena also has 0 wins over any ranked opponent. I understand that. But I think we give Gilbert Burns a little too much credit for his losses. And I think we need to look at it a little closer. He's 37 years old. And I'm a Gilbert Burns fan. So this isn't coming from a place of, I can't stand it. I'm a Gilbert Burns fan. The guy shows up, does what he's supposed to do, drama-free, always smiling, seems like he has a great personality, seems like a great teammate. All the positive things for Gilbert Burns. But if I'm looking at this objectively, we have a grappler, a 155-pound grappler who moved up to 170 pounds, has some decent power in his hands, but loses striking matches to anybody he can't take down. That's what we have in Gilbert Burns. If he doesn't get the takedowns, he doesn't win. And if we go look at Jack Della Maddalena, not only does he have very good takedown defense, he has incredible striking. His jab is insane. His volume is insane. He's got power out of nowhere. And his takedown defense is very, very good. And yes, Basel Hafez took him down a handful of times. But let's look at the circumstances. First of all, Basel Hafez is a freak. This guy is an insanely fast, athletic guy for this weight class. He's massive. And Jack Della Maddalena, in 2 of those 3 takedowns, took himself down. He just jumped guillotine, took himself down, trying to get him out of there. That was also short notice. But it was short notice for both of them. Jack was supposed to fight the week earlier, cut the weight, got on the scale, did all the things. That fight dropped and then stayed in Vegas on the other side of the world from where he's from, cut the weight again, and fought the next week. That messes with you. So while he didn't have the greatest performance in this fight, he has looked great in every other fight. I do think the Kevin Holland fight was close, but Kevin Holland, and we might find out on this card, is very good. Very good striker, unorthodox, busy, stays in your face, all the things. I personally think Jack Della Maddalena is that guy. Do I think he's the best in the world? No. Do I think at 20-something, with as good of a striking he has and as good takedown defense as he has, that he's going to beat Gilbert Burns? Yes. I think he beats Gilbert Burns. Now, he's $8,600. I don't know if he's going to be worth that money because I don't think he's going to finish a very tough, durable Gilbert Burns. So I'm not going to have him in my lineup, but I guess that whole rant was to caution you, maybe don't put Gilbert Burns in your lineup because I do think time has sort of passed him by. Let's see. I could be wrong here, but I think Gilbert Burns is a little too old for some of these young up-and-comers. Then we have Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland is taking on Michael Venom Page, Bellator superstar Michael Venom Page. And this is an interesting fight. Kevin Holland is the favorite here. And I get that, right? He's been in the UFC for a while, fought probably the higher level of competition. And Kevin Holland is an insanely durable guy and a very, very good striker. Very accurate, precise striker who does a good job managing range. You're going to see the TKO loss to Wonderboy Thompson. And the comparisons that you'll see are Michael Venom Page fights exactly like Wonderboy. And they do have very similar fighting styles. Venom Page is better than Wonderboy, at least in my opinion, as far as the offensive striking is concerned. Where I'm going with this is Wonderboy finished Kevin Holland, but don't forget, Kevin Holland broke his hand in that fight early. That's why he resorted to wrestling, and it got a little sloppy and weird. So Kevin Holland broke his hand in that fight. Kevin Holland wasn't 100% in that fight. So I do think Kevin Holland is a very good fighter. I do think $8,500 may be worth it if he wins this fight and puts on... I'm trying to find a decision here. Does he have any decision wins? Here we go. Damn, we got to go back to 2020 for a decision win. I do think he can be worth it if he can make something happen on that side of things. But I'm not going to have him in my lineup, and I do think Venom Page needs a second look at $7,700. Michael Venom Page, no stats here. As I mentioned, he just left Bellator, new signing to the UFC. Michael Venom Page is one of the most devastating strikers you'll ever see fight. Go look at the damage he has done to other human beings. Look up his fight against Cyborg. Just do MVP versus Cyborg Bellator. He broke that dude's skull. He hit him so hard in his forehead, his skull caved in. Or if you're watching, caved in. Caved in another man's skull. He has destroyed people's knees. I think 4 of his opponents have needed surgery immediately after their fight. This guy destroys people. And he can fight for 15 full minutes. He's not just a wild, come forward, do crazy stuff. He's a very calculated, patient, unorthodox karate-style striker. I think Venom Page wins this fight. Do I think he finishes Kevin Holland? I don't know. Kevin Holland is insanely durable. Outside of that fight where he broke his hand, he's very, very durable. But Michael Page is a different level. I think Michael Page is the better striker here. $7,700 might be worth a shot, especially in some large field tournaments. I think Michael Page can get this win. He is 36 years old. So to turn him into a superstar, there's not a ton of time. The UFC has to fast track him. And I think that was their plan here. I think they said, we're going to spend all this money on this guy. Let's give him Kevin Holland, right? Let's give him somebody with a name that we can recognize. Kevin Holland's ranked like 12 or 13 in the world. Let's give him a ranked opponent. Somebody that'll have some fun out there, that will strike with him and not just try to wrestle the shit out of him. And let's see what he does. And I think that's what this fight is. And I think they're expecting Michael Page to put on a show, and I think he will. So I'm going to have Michael Page in my lineup, but I'm not going to argue with anybody that says Kevin Holland is going to win, because I love Kevin Holland, and he might win this fight. And then we have the co-main of the evening. Benoit Saint-Denis taking on Dustin Poirier. What I will say is I think this $8,900, the betting line's a bit disrespectful to Dustin Poirier. Benoit is wildly dangerous. As we have seen, knockout, knockout, submission, knockout, submission. The only decision of his career, he got beat into death. I think it was, I literally think one of those rounds was a 10-7. One of the only 10-7s we ever had in the UFC. I mean, he was beat bad. Like bad. He was beat. But it did show us how insanely tough this. He is not going to quit on himself. So we have a very dangerous guy in Benoit Saint-Denis who's going to come forward, who's going to bomb away, throw kicks, throw punches, throw everything with 100% intent and wrestle. Just shoot takedowns very aggressively. I assume he's got plenty of cardio. We haven't seen it, but I assume he has plenty of cardio. He's a former special forces guy who has a never say die attitude. So I imagine he's got cardio and will continue to go and push even if he's tired. But he's not the better fighter in this matchup. He's taking on Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is the better fighter. Dustin Poirier has spectacular boxing. Great low kicks, as we saw when he finished Conor McGregor the first time. He's got a BJJ in jiu-jitsu. He's got good offensive wrestling. And he has that dog in him. We have seen him in some all-time wars. Dustin Poirier is very, very good. The problem is he's old. And that's a theme on this card, old versus new. He's 35 or 36, and he was just knocked out bad. Just knocked out bad. And how many times have we seen 35-year-olds, 36-year-olds get knocked out really bad and just never be the same? Justin Gaethje turned Tony Ferguson into a meme. And Tony Ferguson was on the greatest run that we've basically ever seen anybody on. And that might happen to Dustin Poirier. Justin Gaethje just put his lights out. And now Benoit might put his lights out. And now he might become the next Tony Ferguson. The difference between Dustin and Tony is Dustin is of sound mind. He's not a lunatic psychopath that has lost grip with reality. He's a very intelligent person who can think clear thoughts. So I think Dustin Poirier, they probably have a great game plan at American Top Team for Benoit. I just feel like Benoit is a small Dricus du Plessis, and it was the same thing with the Sean Strickland fight. I was like, Sean Strickland's the better fighter here, but Dricus just keeps somehow finding ways to win. And I think that's what we're going to have here. I think we're going to have a Benoit Saint-Denis who just somehow finds a way to win. What I will say is these odds are ridiculous. This should be a much closer fight just given what Dustin has done and who he is. I think Dustin Poirier can absolutely win this fight, but I personally don't think he will win this fight. Benoit Saint-Denis may be in my lineup, but I may avoid it just from the danger and the risk. If you're building multiple lineups, multiple entries, have some with Benoit, have some with Dustin, because whoever wins should score well. This is a 5-round fight. You have 2 extra rounds to put points on the board. The only reason I'm not all in on Dustin and DraftKings at $7,300 is because I don't know. Like, if he loses, I think he's going to get finished. I think that chin is suspect. And it wasn't before, but it is now after Justin. So let me know what you guys think of this fight. I'm very curious. I think the community seems to be split. Main event of the evening, $9,200 Sean O'Malley. I think that is a fade for me. Even if Sean wins this fight, I don't think he's going to knock out Chito Vera. Nobody ever has. Nobody's even dropped Chito Vera, let alone knock him out. And it took Sean every single thing in his body to get Chris, no longer in the UFC, couldn't find a win, Motino, out of there. He landed 230 significant strikes in 3 rounds and couldn't get Chris out of there. And this fight won't look like this. Obviously, he scored insanely well in that fight because of this number. This fight against Chito won't look like the fight against Chris Motino because Chito will fire back and is dangerous. Sean O'Malley, very technical striker, very pinpoint laser accuracy. We just saw in the Aljamain Sterling fight what that looks like. He lost the first round, objectively. And then in the second round, Sterling sort of got a little sloppy, overcommitted to a takedown. Sean O'Malley, laser pinpoint, stepped off, boom, dropped him, pinpoint accuracy, very fast, could just see everything that's going on. Sean O'Malley is very, very good. I can't stand him. He looks like he's anemic. I'm not a Sean O'Malley fan for some reason. And what's crazy is I keep saying that to like Jacob, and Jacob's like, I get it, but Sean O'Malley's not fake. Like, he's been this same weirdo forever, which I guess I could appreciate. He didn't like turn into a character after he became champ. He's always been a character. I don't know. I'm just not a Sean O'Malley guy. He's fighting Chito Vera. This is a rematch. We'll go down a little bit, but he finished Sean O'Malley last time. And there's 2 narratives here. One is, if you're a Sean O'Malley fan, you say Sean O'Malley was piecing up Chito Vera and then had a freak injury on his ankle, right? That's if you're a Sean O'Malley fan. If you're a Chito Vera fan, you say Chito was lighting up Sean's legs. That's what made his ankle give out, dummy. It didn't just go out on his own. Chito did that to him. And both sides are 100% convinced that they're correct. That's just how the internet works. Nobody is able to objectively look at it and be like, yeah, they're both right. O'Malley did have some success striking, as most people do against Chito, but Chito did light up his legs. So yes, O'Malley was having success. And yes, Chito was probably the reason that his ankle gave out. That didn't just happen out of magic. And that's how I see this. Because I'm a reasonable human being who can see 2 sides of something. I think Chito Vera is an insanely slow starter who picks up success and has some steam, picks up steam and has some success later. Chito Vera has literally lost almost every single fight, except 2 fights. He has landed fewer strikes. He was outstruck in every single UFC fight except 2. Pedro Munhoz, which is a great trend. And then one of these early ones against a name I don't recognize. The rest of them, he was outstruck. Rob Font doubled his strikes. Rob Font landed over 300 significant strikes in that fight. So a lot of people touching up Chito Vera. But those are mostly volume people. Sean O'Malley's not a volume guy. Sean O'Malley is an accurate, pinpoint accuracy guy. I think Chito Vera can win this fight. And if he loses this fight, I still think it goes 5 full rounds. I think Chito Vera is a good play in your DraftKings lineup because I think it's going to go to at least 25 minutes. And I think Chito Vera will be standing and throwing for 25 minutes. We know he can turn people's faces into hamburger meat. We know he can do that. Let's look at this fight against Rob Font. He dropped them 3 times. Let's take away 30 and let's take away another 30. So let's say he lost a decision to Rob Font. So we'll take away 30 for the 3 knockdowns. We'll take away 30 for the decision win. We're removing 60 points. He still scores pretty well. Or at least and that's a loss, right? We're assuming he lost. So he still more than covers his $7,000 salary if he loses that fight to Rob Font without dropping him. And I think this fight could be that. I think Chito Vera can win a very close split decision or can lose a decision where he's just touched up. And in both scenarios, I think he scores 70 points or more. I think he covers his salary. Corey Sandhagen was able to shut him down because Corey Sandhagen is wildly unorthodox and works in takedowns. That's not Sean O'Malley. I like Chito Vera for my DraftKings lineup at $7,000. Guys, that is my breakdown. This is the success that our premium members have had. Almost $500,000 in the last 6 months. Join them. Become a premium member. Unlock everything that we do, including the best DraftKings ownership projections preloaded into the optimizer. This will build lineups for you, and the lineups it builds for you can help you win money like this. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. It is only $10 for an entire month.